guys, Victoria here and welcome back to my channel. So as I know that SPM is quickly approaching for you guys, I just wanted to make this video called How to Ace Any Exam. So today's video is going to be divided into two parts. So what you have to do before any exam and during any exam. So before any exam, you need to know three things. The first thing is the material. You need to know the material thoroughly and truly well. And the material is just what you have been taught all this while, what you have been revising all this while. And the second thing that you need to know is the format of the exam. The third thing that you need to know is how much time is allocated for each section in the exam. So I think that the third thing is especially important, because if you do not know how much time you should allocate for each question in the exam, then you might be overspending your time on some questions, and the worst case scenario is when you know the answers to all those questions but you simply do not have the time to answer it. So to avoid that, it is best to know exactly how much time you should allocate for each exam. The first thing that you need to do is to understand the material, and then if you can, memorize it. So for Sejarah and Biology, there are some people asking me whether to understand or to memorize the material, and my answer is to understand and then memorize it. So there's no point memorizing something without understanding it, because when you don't understand something and you blindly memorize it, you won't remember it for a long time. To transfer memory or to transfer something into your long-term memory, you need to first understand it. So how do you understand something and then memorize it? I'll be talking about some revision techniques which you might want to consider using, and the first one is to use mental associations. So mental associations could be anything. It is something like a hook in order for you to remember something. So it could be acronyms or mental images or short stories. When you're reading something, you can turn it into a short story, or you can create a short story. You can imagine it as images, and that could help as a memory tool. Studying is supposed to be tedious, and you're supposed to be trying to actively stuff information into your brain, and I personally like to make good use of initials. For example, in biology, we have to learn about the nervous system, and the main three things in the nervous system are brain, spinal cords, and nerves. And to memorize this, I simply use the initials of these three. So we have BSN, and I just remember it as BSN, like the bank that we have. And so when I think about nervous system, I think about BSN, and then I know that in the nervous system we have the brain, the spinal cord, and nerves. So that is the way that I try to make things easier for myself. Instead of trying to remember all that stuff, I just make connections between all that stuff, so when I have the prompts, it will be so easy to get the actual information out. These are also known as memory triggers, and it could be anything really. It could be images, it could be like short stories that you're projecting inside your brain, just anything which can help you to remember anything easily. Make good use of mental associations, because it is a very important revision technique. The second revision technique is a way to replace highlighting your notes. So sadly, highlighting your notes is not considered to be active revision, and studies have even shown that highlighting information does not contribute much into retaining information, and as much as we like to do it, apparently it's not of much help. So if you have been reading a page of the textbook for some time now, right? Let's say it's history, because that always happens for history. Like, you've been just trying to get those information into your brain, but one page can take up an hour sometimes. And there are those things that you need to remember, but you can't stuff them into your brain. Then you can consider using post-it notes as an alternative option. So you can use post-it notes like these ones, and you're going to write question prompts on one side of the post-it note, and then you're going to flip on the other side and write down the answer. And on that page of textbook itself, you're going to paste however many post-it notes that you need. Maybe you need like 6 post-it notes to remember the information on that page. Then you can use 6 post-it notes, write question prompts, write the answer, and you're going to like repeatedly test yourself until you get it right. So before you use post-it notes, you might just want to go over the textbook once and just circle the information which you need to remember. Circle it once and then transfer it onto post-it notes, and then paste it all on top of your textbook, and just try to actively retrieve information, because recalling information is so much better than just rereading stuff. Like, rereading stuff is very highly overrated. It is so much better to try to retrieve information from your brain, use active recall, and that is the way that you can actually remember. So the next time you feel like your brain is saturated and you just can't remember anything anymore, try using post-it notes instead of highlighting stuff. Number 3 is to make a study plan for yourself. And my version of a study plan is probably the simplest one you'll see. I'll show you. This is the study plan that I had for my mid-sem for foundation in science, and I just listed out everything that I need to get done in no particular order. I just need to get all those stuff before the test and I'll be fine. So I just went ahead and did 1 per day, or like 2 or 3 per day if I could manage it, and then I just cut it off the list. And by using this system, I can have a very clear image of my process and my progress. I know how much I still need to do, and I know how much I've done, and I simply like go ahead and cut it off the list. And I know some people make very specific study plans, like they'll say like Tuesday I will revise history chapter 1 or something, right? But for me, that it doesn't work that way. I like to give myself the liberty of choosing what I want to do on that day itself. Like on that day, maybe I'm feeling like doing a mind map for chapter 4 benzene, then I'll do it. Like, there is nothing wrong about making your study plans specific, but for me, it's like if I have decided that that day I want to do maths tutorial 3, maybe it's written in my study plan, but what if I wake up that day and I feel like doing chemistry instead? Right? So I just give myself the liberty of deciding what I want to do on that day itself, which is why my study plan is just a list. Basically, something just fell. Basically, it is just a list like this. And yeah, like if you work well with specific study plans, then by all means just go ahead, like do what works for you. Number 4 is to think quality and not quantity. So if you want to work hard for your exams, it does not mean that you should have no social life. If you want to go out with your friends, with your family, then go ahead. You just need to prioritize the quality of your revision over the quantity of it. If going out can make you happy and it can act as a source of motivation for you to study, then that's like really great and you should utilize that. So let's say you're going out at 7. So before 7, you can utilize the time to study. But as opposed to maybe you don't want to go out at all. Maybe you want to focus on studying for that day, so you cancel your plans and you decide to study for the entire day. But can you make sure that you really study for the entire day? Because your brain is an organ and it can get saturated sometimes. And you will feel bored of just sitting there and studying all day long, and studying for too long at a time will just make you hate it even more. As opposed to if you have something to look forward to, you tell yourself you just have to work until 7 and then you can go out and enjoy yourself. So you can make the best use of the time before 7 to study. Do you get what I mean? If you have a source of motivation, you have something to look forward to, that can actually increase the quality of your work. Some people can actually get more work done within 4 hours of productivity as opposed to like 10 hours but with nothing to look forward to. They will just like take it slow and sometimes procrastinate. So if you set a time limit for yourself, you're going to work hard for 4 hours and then you can go out after that, you can actually increase your productivity. So definitely you can still go out when it's like approaching the exams. It's not the end of the world. You can still go out and enjoy yourself. The second and third thing to do, as I have mentioned, is to know the format and the time constraint. And to do this, you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're going to pretend that you're doing that exam in the exam hall. So you're going to put away all the distractions and all the reference books, and you're going to answer the exam questions based on your knowledge only. You can write down the starting time and then time yourself, and make sure that you have the time to finish the entire question paper within the allocated time itself. So when you do that, you can get used to the amount of time that you have and the format of the question, and that is definitely such a great thing to do. Next, I'll talk about all the things that you need to do in the exam hall in order to ace that exam. And the first thing that you have to do is to arrive early to the exam hall. So this is of course to make sure that you have enough time to finish the paper. Like if that paper is 2 hours and 30 minutes, you want to make sure that you get the entire time. If you are late and you maybe get 2 hours, then believe me, that will not be enough for you. And also arriving early can avoid all unnecessary stress and anxiety that you will be feeling. So arrive early, calm yourself down, and just prepare yourself for the test. Number 2 is to read through the entire exam paper before you start answering it. And then when you do start answering it, if you can think of something which can be added to the essay question, then you can scribble it down so that you do not forget it. Number 3 is to circle the keywords from the question so that you do not get it wrong. This is so important, and I always do this. So for example, in biology, if an essay question say that they are asking for the light and dark reaction of photosynthesis, so I'm going to circle it up, light and dark reaction, and I'll refer to the marks allocated, and then I'll plan my essay out accordingly. You have to make sure that you're getting the correct points, especially when it comes to paper 3 sejarah as well. What they ask is so important. You have to highlight all the keywords and then refer accordingly. And also for essay question for Bahasa Malaysia Karangan, circling the keywords is so important. You have to read what they actually want, highlight it, read like 2 to 3 times the questions, because if you write an essay that is out of topic, no matter how good it is, the maximum that you'll get is 3 marks. So for essay questions for Bahasa Malaysia especially, read the questions a few times, highlight the keywords, read it over again, and make sure that you are not out of topic when writing the essay. Number 4 is to attempt all questions. This is so important. Like in my exams, I just never leave any one question blank. Like maybe you read a question and you're like, no, I haven't read this before. But you've probably listened to it before when your teacher was teaching it to you, and you have read it before. In a way, you have been exposed to it. It's somewhere in the back of your brain. You need to think and rethink and try to retrieve that bit of information. Or maybe you know something which is like mildly related to it. Just write it down anyway. If you just write something related to it, you might just get 1 or 2 marks. And that 1 or 2 marks is very important as well. It can like determine whether you get an A+ or an A or A-. So just never leave a question blank. Just try, no matter what, just try. Lastly, I'm going to be talking about essay questions. So when it comes to essay questions, it is important to choose the ones which you are most confident in. So the best thing to do is to list down little keywords next to each essay, the keywords about the stuff that you can remember, and then whichever has more, you can just go on and attempt that essay, whichever you are more confident in. Choosing the right essay questions is so important because essays can make or break your grades. So usually the first thing that I do is I will choose the essay question first before I even start answering any other questions. I'll just look to the back of the essay questions, and then I'll have a rough idea of what I want to do. And then when I'm doing throughout the paper, maybe I can think of something related to the essay question, then I'll go ahead and scribble down. So I'm gradually adding more points to the essay. So when I actually finish the paper and come to the part where I have to write an essay, I have a lot of plans scribbled out already. Remember that in essays, 1 sentence should equal to 1 idea. Each sentence should give you 1 point, and you can plan out your paragraphing accordingly. Make sure that everything is nice and organized. Handwriting is very important as well. Just try to write as quickly as possible without making your handwriting too messy, because one of the examiner's pet peeves is just tiny and unreadable handwriting, so try to avoid that as much as you can. So those are the things that you can do before and during an exam in order to ace any exam. Remember that success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out, and the road to success is not easy, but it can be done. So I hope that this video has helped you. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.